One of the most important things that most writers don't actually talk about is how your goals evolve. So I thought it would be really fun to just go through from beginning to where I am now, how my goals have actually evolved and what that looked like. All screenwriting is setting your own deadlines and executing that, making sure that you're doing all of the necessary steps to make sure you're getting a great story out for someone to produce in the future. Welcome to my channel, Scribes. If this is your first time, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you go ahead and click that subscribe button and join my community of writers. I am Pika Lee. I'm a writer and filmmaker. I make videos about the business of writing, and I also make it about developing your storytelling abilities. So how have my writer's goals changed? This is pretty much going to be an overview of my writing history. And of course, I mentioned some milestones that you might be hitting yourself. I myself started writing scripts, or what I thought was scripts, on Microsoft Word on my laptop at like 14 or 15. Fast forward to college, and I was still at that very beginner level. I hadn't really moved very much because I hadn't done a lot of the really good research that you need to do when you're younger, and I just thought, well, I'm just gonna keep writing down these great ideas and see what I can do with them later. I think it probably hit me that I needed to really skyrocket myself when my brother had asked me. I pitched something to him in the car one day. He was getting gas or something, and I pitched it to him thinking, you need to break out and you just need to tell somebody. And so I actually pitched it to my brother, who does not, I don't know, he's one of those people you watch a film with and he's like, that sucked. You know that he's one of those maybe harder to please people. So I thought, let me just test this out on him. I could take it. It's totally fine. And I did it. I said it. Once I got it out and I said it to him, he gave me a few words. I can't really remember what he said. He probably said something like, I don't get it, or can you expand on it or something. And at that point in time, I was still pretty much a beginner, so I didn't know how to actually effectively talk about it any further because I hadn't planned that much of it. I just had a premise, really. And when you're young and you're new, you don't have a fully thought out plot. I was just pantsing everything, just writing it right off the top of my head and hoping that I finished it and hoping that there was no plot holes and that it made sense. That doesn't work for me anymore. I vigorously plot everything because when I was in my beginning stages, it didn't have enough connectivity to what the plot was going to be and the story and all the elements to actually just go with it and come out with a fully formed non-plot hole story. So my brother actually says to me something along the lines of if you want to be a writer, you have to show your stuff, or you have to actually write. Maybe you just don't love it. You don't love it enough because you don't write enough. And then I thought more deeply about it, and it kind of made me think to myself, maybe I don't love writing as much as I thought I did because I can't get anything onto paper. And surely everybody else must be able to get things onto paper. And I was thinking, no, I love it. No, yeah, I love it. A lot of screenwriting for me in the first year was actually trudging through and motivating myself to sit down and write. I most times wasn't sitting in the right atmosphere. I was really trying to work on something that I didn't understand how to plot out. And I wasn't really in the mindset where I was confident enough to ask questions to my peers. My short-term goals were just getting all of my words and ideas out of my head and onto paper. I was really harping in on the baby steps, and that was good for me at the time. You do need baby steps, so don't think that you're doing it wrong in any way. And I will get to more about maybe some things I could have done a little bit differently a little bit later, so hang tight, stick with me. Flash forward to the end of that one, and I did write that script. Finally, when I was in my intermediate stage, I started to realize that I needed to get at least one done in 1 year. It was possible. I've heard all of these things about people getting multiple done in a year, and I was starting to challenge myself now. Maybe even get 2 in. I started to go to more conferences, I started to take more notes, talk to more peers, and I really started to actually get the hang of plotting and planning a little bit more about my scripts. I didn't fully outline just yet. I started taking UCLA Extension courses, which was great. And because of doing those courses, I realized that you did need a degree of planning, and I started to get into the productivity side of things. I'm still heavily involved in productivity improvements, so if you're interested in productivity type stuff, I do have some things on the channel you can check out. I do use Asana for writing. In this stage, I actually knocked out this whole idea of I just want to write 1 or 2 a year to these are the active steps that I should be taking to actually get to that goal. I was going to need to learn the writing business. I was going to need to start interacting with peers. I was going to need to join some writing groups and stop being so protective of my work so that I can grow and evolve. As a creative, I had to learn how to motivate myself even further when I didn't feel like writing, how to get out of writer's block, and especially how to develop that growth mindset. And that next stage evolved to working on yourself internally as a creative. Because of my brother and how he sort of impacted how I saw myself with my writing, I started to talk to myself and talk about myself as a writer. I'm working on this project and that project. And even though I wasn't published or I wasn't quite being picked up by a large-scale company and I was creating my own films, I really did include myself as a professional writer. Because if you don't call yourself a professional writer or a writer at all, you're downplaying all of the work that you're doing. Make sure to call yourself a writer. You're a writer. I really took the time to learn myself and learn what it takes to be a professional writer so that I can sustain my life as a professional writer. And that's how you become advanced. That's still, of course, encapsulated in the intermediate stage though. So just takes a really long time for you to be in this intermediate stage because you're becoming more aware of the craft, more aware of how you can improve and better yourself, and that just stretches for a very long time. As I continued to grow as an intermediate writer, I really started to listen more and take more action when that advice was given to me. During this stage, you can intermittently pick up the pace. You can actually write a whole outline in maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. You can start to challenge yourself during this time. You really want to make sure that you're actually timing yourself, giving yourself deadlines, and you're sticking to those deadlines, because once you get to the advanced stage, you're going to be working for a professional, whether it's an agent, another director, producer, someone who's actually paying you to write a script, and they're going to want you to execute those time frames that you set for yourself. Build those writing habits. Another goal that really changed drastically for me was marketing myself. I realized that there's a lot of marketing to be done as a writer. So marketing yourself was a really great ability. That and networking, those were 2 very big things that I needed to work on while I was writing. Part of those goals that are going to change are getting the right people around you, having a crew to work on short films with, or to even do a feature film if you have a plan to market your film and get funding. Figuring out where you fit in the industry. That's very important. I think when people ask screenwriters what they want in the next 5 years, it's really, really tough because as a writer, you're, like I said, freelance forever for the most part. So asking what you want in the next 5 years, I think definitely starts to take shape when you get to that intermediate zone where you're pretty consistent with your writing, you're actually able to have a few writing samples ready to go, and you've got a very, very polished idea and script, and you can also write treatments, which are very important in the industry apparently. Now, I think once you're hitting this very advanced stage, or maybe even an advanced intermediate stage, you're more concerned with actually doing the hard work to make those connections, to get your things pitched to the right people. You've got your samples ready to go. You're probably writing at this stage a few different scripts per quarter. So a quarter being 3 months, and you're knocking out maybe 2 scripts per quarter and then revising from there. Having that writer's circle that you can actually trade your scripts with, get some feedback, whether you're also placing into competitions at this point because you've got that script that's ready to go, you're looking for fellowships, and you're looking for scholarships or page programs or any of those things that are actually going to get you into a program that could potentially launch your career if the right person has eyes on your completely polished script. As the Roman philosopher said, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Drop me a comment, let me know where you are in your writing career, and I will see you on the next one, scribes.